Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and you're watching
DONTAE'S
DONTAE'S Boxing Nation.
Hello.
What's going on, Abe? How you doing, man?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
All right. So I take it you're back in the States now, huh?
I am.
Yeah, that's what it is. DONTAE'S Boxing Nation, and I'm over here on the phone with Gennady Golovkins' trainer, Abel Sanchez. Now, Abe, the first thing I want to say is congratulations, because a win is a win at the end of the day. But with that being said, you rated Gennady Golovkins' performance a 4 out of 10, and Golovkin, he rated the performance a 3 out of 10. There has been a lot of criticism when it comes to Gennady Golovkins' performance. We heard Jim Lampley and Bernard Hopkins and other professional boxers talk about how vulnerable Gennady Golovkin looked in his performance. What is your take on many people's perception of Gennady Golovkin's performance this past weekend? Is the criticism warranted?
Let me see. This young man's got 23 wins, 23 knockouts in a row. He's made 17th defense as a knockout. He's a 3-belt champion. Nobody wants to fight him. Who the hell can criticize him as a boxer? As a fan, maybe because he didn't give you what you were looking for. But any boxer that criticizes another boxer, when they ain't doing what he's doing, is hypocritical.
It's hypocritical? I mean, but Abe, what they're criticizing is not the fact that he didn't get a knockout, because he did get a knockout, but they're more criticizing, and you know, me myself, I was even noticing that he was getting hit a lot more. Were you concerned with that, Abel, that he was getting hit a lot more?
Not at all. Not at all. I'll tell you why not at all. Talk to or think of any of the fighters that you're telling me were hypocritical, and tell me about their last fight that they didn't get hit one punch.
Okay, well, definitely one punch.
Okay, well, this is boxing. This is boxing. That he was dominating everybody before him and didn't and never got hit. He had maybe an off night. I don't think he had an off night, but he had an off night, let's just say, and he got hit with a couple shots. Come on, that's hypocritical to think that this man's going to perform at the same level against everybody. We fought an undefeated welterweight champion. We fought an undefeated guy that's 36-0 with 20-some knockouts, 28 knockouts. We fought a good fighter. Of course, this is boxing. You're gonna get hit. Mm-hmm. But all those people that are talking about, that are criticizing, one, are not doing it on his level. That's the first thing. Two, if they're fighters, tell me about their last fight. How did they do in their last fight? We can all sit and talk, but we're not doing the same thing that he's doing.
Okay.
As a fight fan, that he didn't do what he did the last time, and I'm going to criticize him because as a fight fan, okay, I can see that, because fans they pay the money to watch us fight and to do our thing, and they expect certain things from their fighters, let's just say. But he gave us, as a fight fan, he gave us a show.
Okay,
so he did some vulnerabilities. Okay, so he saw that. Now, hopefully, those same guys, if they're the guys that are avoiding him or have been avoiding him, maybe those guys now will step up to the plate.
Well, that's what I was about to say next. It's a gift and a curse, right? Because Billy Joe Saunders, he's saying that he's seen a lot of flaws and a lot of faults, and now, before he didn't want the fight, before he was asking for a lot of money, but now he's not even asking about money. Now he's saying he wants the next fight. You believe him or what?
I don't believe it. I believe it when he calls, instead of going on Twitter. Look, it's very easy. I can tell you that I want to sell my 2004 Escalade, and I really want to sell it bad. I mean, to get rid of it. And when you ask me how much I want for it, I tell you that I want $100,000. How bad do I want to sell it? Don't get on Facebook. Call Tom Loeffler.
Okay.
Fred Warren can call Tom Loeffler. That's the easiest way to get this done. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Just like Danny Jacobs has been saying he wants to fight. It's been ordered, okay? But it's been ordered by the WBA. So purse is not an issue here, because if it goes to purse bid, let's see who wins the purse bid. He's going to be satisfied with the 25% he gets. So now, before he said if they got to make it worth my while, that's like, I don't know what the numbers he was talking about, $2 million fight. And sometimes these guys say that they want to fight, but they don't call the right people. Instead of getting on Twitter, call the right man. Call the man that can make the fight. Don't how can I say it? Don't spout out at the mouth when you're not ready to sign the dotted line.
So you don't believe Danny Jacobs or Billy Joe Saunders will step to the plate? I mean, out of the two, which one do you think?
I don't believe either one of them will, and we'll find out in the next couple weeks.
Interesting.
We're fighting at the end of this year.
So you haven't heard
at the end of this year.
Okay, so you haven't heard anything from Danny Jacobs or Billy Joe Saunders people outside of the tweet yet?
Outside of the Twitter, no. Tom Loeffler's, I said, look, go back and research a couple of interviews that I did before our fight, and when these guys were calling him out when it first got announced, and I said, I hope that right after the fight, they do the same thing by calling Tom Loeffler instead of getting on Twitter. Call Tom Loeffler. But you'll see that as soon as they keep getting on Twitter and getting on Facebook, all the words that are going to come out, if it's worth my while, I'm going to take the fight. You got to make it worth my while. What's worth your while? If it goes to a purse bid, you get paid what you get paid, or don't take the fight and leave the belt, as Canelo did. Mm-hmm. Okay, for Saunders is there's only so much in a budget. There's only so much money that can be made. Now, if you're fighting Floyd Mayweather, it's a little different story. You're not fighting Floyd Mayweather. There's only so much right now in his budget. So if Saunders gets to the point where he's asking so much that is not possible, then it's not going to be made. Just like Chris Eubank, Chris Eubank's father used Golovkin's name for publicity. One, I'm going to tell you why. Because they strung it along and asked for such demands that he knew the fight wasn't going to be done. Now, instead of the millions of dollars he could have made like Brooke made, now he's fighting Tommy Langford for the European title for what? $50,000?
Yeah, but I think the Chris Eubank situation is a little bit different. I mean, wouldn't you attribute that fight not coming to fruition to Chris Eubank Sr. as opposed to Chris Eubank Jr. because he's so tough when it comes to negotiating fights?
No, there was no negotiating. You want me to tell you what the negotiating was? He wanted to put the undercard. He wanted to select the announcers. He wanted to set ticket prices at double. And if you don't believe me, go back and listen to Eddie Hearn's interviews, and Chris Eubank's not denying any of that.
Oh, okay. See, that's informative right there. See, people didn't know that. It's, people just automatically assume it was just a money thing. So it was a lot of other things.
Kell Brook accepted the same offer that was made to Chris Eubank, and the same kind of structure is the way that Anthony Joshua fights. The same structure. The monies obviously are different, but the same structure, how it's broken down, was Joshua fights the same way for Eddie Hearn. Kell Brook fought the same way for Eddie Hearn. The same structure was, in money-wise, was given to Chris Eubank Jr. But Jr. never saw the contract. Senior, if you listen to the interviews, Eddie Hearn wanted to do his own security, wanted to select all the undercards, wanted to select the announcers, wanted to make sure that ticket prices were doubled. Eddie Hearn, if you listen to the interviews, Eddie Hearn says, the people hate me already. Could you imagine if I doubled the prices?
Well, yeah. And you just said Junior never even seen the contract, so it was mainly Senior or demanding all this stuff.
What Senior is doing is using the situation for publicity. They had never had an intent to fight Golovkin. That's why now it's fighting Tommy Langford, and I bet you he's not getting $50,000. Oh, yeah, well, obviously he ain't getting nowhere near what he would have got fighting against Gennady Golovkin. Obviously, I was honestly hoping that after, Golovkin's performance, all of these guys would be raising their hands, and at least that's what it seems like right now. In the next couple weeks, because he is fighting in late November, the next couple weeks will be the telltale sign. Okay? You keep an eye open and keep an ear open for all those guys that are calling him out, and then why the fight doesn't get made. Mm-hmm. Okay? Like I said about my Escalade, I want to sell it, but do I really want to sell it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I want you to clear this up too, Abe, for some of the casual fans that said you and Golovkin had this plan to just go in there and look vulnerable just to bait other people in.
No.
Okay.
We fought a very good fighter. We fought a guy that obviously I didn't want him to get in a bar fight, but Golovkin is Golovkin. He's going to do what he wants to do when he gets in the ring because he's there to please his fans. He's there to make sure that everybody goes away happy, and it's the paying public. There was 20,000 fans that wanted that fight to continue, but unfortunately for Brooke.
Hey,
or the guy's career is ruined.
was it anything? Go ahead.
So if Dominic Engel doesn't stop the fight and the man gets hurt, then all those 20,000 people and all the fans that are tweeting about it was a bad stoppage, they're not going to send a penny to Kell Brook and his family.
No doubt about it. I mean, he's already in there with the hardest puncher in the middleweight division, and if he has a broken eye socket in the 5th round or the 4th round, yeah.
But I go one step further. I go one step further with the guys that are calling Golovkin out. They have a right to ask for whatever they want to ask for. They have all that right. It's okay. Just understand that the public has to understand that it's not Golovkin that's saying no. It's these guys that just putting a dollar amount on a fight that the dollar amount is not available. So if it's not available, then they're actually basically saying I don't want the fight. Realize this: that every opponent that Golovkin has had in his championship reign has had a career high payday. Every opponent has had a career high payday. Not one has not.
Now, I mean, looking at all the possibilities, you said you don't believe that Billy Joe Saunders or Danny Jacobs will step to the plate. I often hear you and Tom often talk about moving up to 168, but it seems a little conflicting because Gennady Golovkin, it seems like he always says the opposite, like he wants to stay at 160 because he can make the weight easily. So what's going on with that?
He wants to win the 4 belts. That's very important. That's very important to be the next unified champion after Bernard Hopkins. Okay, that Bernard Hopkins is the last unified champion. So he wants to make history within himself and for his country by being a unified champion. Now, if the opportunity, and we have said, if the opportunity presents itself, well, we can move up to 168 and fight somebody. Alberto Ramirez has been talking about wanting to move up and fight Golovkin or having Golovkin move up and fighting. If that deal is there's a possibility of being made, we'll fight that fight. But let me ask you, why didn't Andre Ward, if there's such great opportunities at 168, why didn't Andre Ward defend the title or unify his title? Because there's nobody there to fight. There's nobody there that's lucrative enough for these guys to take a chance of fighting.
Well, Andre Ward's trainer, Virgil Hunter, he also told me that HBO, they asked him to move up and sign that deal to fight Sergey Kovalev in a 3-fight deal as well.
Wait a minute. That fight was made in the last 6-7 months. He's been fighting since he fought Edwin Rodriguez. He could have fought one of the 68-pounders. You're talking about just recent.
Yeah.
I'm talking about since he was able to fight Edwin and Paul Smith. Why didn't he unify? Why, if there was such great opportunities at 168, why didn't he unify?
So you're saying that's why Golovkin should do the same thing. If nobody will fight him at middleweight, he should move up? Is that what you're saying or what?
No, what I'm saying is there's no reason for Golovkin. There's no financial reason for Golovkin to move up. There's no gain. In other words, we're going to fight Badu Jack. You got to be what's that fight? We're going to be able to sell that fight for Golovkin.
Well, Gilberto Ramirez in Texas, like that's what Tom Loeffler said, that would be a big fight.
That's a different story. Gilberto Ramirez is the only one that's been vocal about fighting Golovkin and wants to fight Golovkin, and so does Barbera want to fight Golovkin. Now that's a fight that's makeable because of his fan base in Texas. You're absolutely right. But if Ramirez doesn't want to fight him, who else are we going to fight? Like I said, Badu Jack, we're going to fight the German. How can we sell that?
Yeah.
How can we sell that to you as a fight fan?
No, well, you see how big the Kell Brook fight. I think the James DeGale fight would be just as big in the UK. Don't you think?
Absolutely. James DeGale has got a fight coming up against who?
I think he's still negotiating with Badu Jack, is he or no?
Okay. Okay. So once that fight gets over with, absolutely, we have James DeGale. We have, and because, and if James DeGale was to fight here in the U.S. against us, it wouldn't be as sellable, let's just say, as if we make it in England, like against Kell Brook, because the English fans are supporting their fighters. They're able to pay they're able to pay DeGale because there's revenue, because they're able to sell it over there. If we do it here, where he's going to want to come here, it won't be possible. It does not. Those kind of monies are not available. HBO and NBC is cutting their budget. They didn't even want to Pacquiao.
Yeah, they didn't even want the Pacquiao fight.
So the monies are not available. It's impossible to put a fight on when you can't sell it.
Yeah, well, I totally agree with that. But once.
Okay, so Ramirez would be the only one that there would be a possibility of 68. As far as 160, he's clamoring for that fourth title. Once that happens, then decisions can be made and other options are explored. But until that happens, we have to stay at 160.
But you're saying, Abel, you're saying you don't even believe Billy Joe Saunders will take the fight. So if he doesn't take the fight, well, how are you guys going to unify?
Okay, it's up to you. It's up to you as a journalist, and it's up to the rest of the journalists that when he comes out on Twitter and says what he says, you hold him to his word. You hold him to what he's saying. That's what it's about. It's not about us. It's about you guys pressing him and asking him these questions you're asking me. Just like the Mexican press right now is on Canelo. Would you say Canelo has got it easy right now? Heck no.
No,
Canelo's
not at all.
going through hell because of all the mouthing he did, all the talking he did. So we as fight fans, when you say something, we want you to live up to it. We want you to live up to it. So now, what's his name? Billy Joe Saunders is doing all that talking. Live up to it. Live up to it and make it reasonable so that you can exploit all those flaws you saw. Let me tell you another thing. I saw an article where Rozier is talking about if Jacobs had been in there against Golovkin when Brook was there, Jacobs would have slapped him silly and knocked him out. Okay, stop your talking. Agree to an amount that's reasonable so that we can make this fight. Reasonable because of the budget. Don't just talk. Make it. Make it.
So
I'll give you another one. Let me give you another one. Charlo and Williams. Charlo and Williams are scheduled to fight each other, and Charlo comes up with this stupidity saying the fight is worth $1 million. $1 million? Where are they going to get that from?
Which fight? He's saying a Golovkin fight or
No, Charlo Williams.
Oh, okay. He's saying that fight is worth $1 million. So you're saying Charlo wanted more money? That's because I know they had some stipulations in negotiations with that fight. So
where are they going to get $1 million for that fight? Who's going to pay $1 million for that fight? It's just not there. Unless Al pays a crazy amount, or just like Jay-Z did for, you remember that Quillen Komarov thing, that 1.4, whatever that was that he was going to get, or $2 million. Remember that Jay-Z first did, where he did so much for Peter Quillen's defense?
Oh, yeah.
Unless somebody goes crazy and did something like that, who that has no interest in the fight is going to do that? You have to have an interest in the fight, financial interest, and who that has financial interest can come up with $1 million for that fight. What I'm saying to you is that these guys are talking stupid numbers that are impossible.
You're saying they outbidding themselves, basically, is what you basically say.
No, they're not. They're outbidding themselves for a reason. They don't want the fight.
Hopefully that fight.
Let me tell you, when we fought Proxa, our first title defense in the U.S., you know how much money we made for that fight?
When you fought who?
Proxa, the first HBO fight. I got a check for $2,800. Okay, we fought our first defenses, the one in Panama against Uma for nothing. We fought them for nothing, just to have fights. We fought our first 2 or 3 fights. We fought the one in Ukraine for no money. Okay, we fought the one in Monte Carlos for crazy, stupid money, nothing. So we paid our dues in the first 4, 5, 6 fights. Make the good money. You know, these guys want to come in and make millions. You know, it's not there. I wish it was there so we can make the fight, but it's not there.
I believe one of those guys are going to step up. I never believed Billy Joe would fight Golovkin before, but I just have a feeling he's confident now. That's.
And why do you think? What would the reason be for him not fighting, in your opinion?
For him not to, there would be no reason for him not to fight him now.
Okay, but if the fight doesn't get made, what do you think the reason is going to be?
Well, if the fight doesn't get made from this point, that means he never wanted to fight as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so they offered him, what, $3 million before, or $2.5 million before? If he doesn't take that now, and that's a crazy purse, we haven't made that in but only one fight or two fights. And this guy's got 23 knockouts in a row. That guy hasn't fought in 9 months.
Good point. Yeah, so basically you're saying that was the offer, and the same offer stands right now, basically, for people.
I'm sure that's what they're going to offer him. They're going to offer him less. So they're going to offer him the money, and if he doesn't take it, well, what's the reason? And Golovkin's even willing to go to the UK. That's the whole stupid, that's the crazy thing. He's willing to go to his backyard like he did with, he's been asking him to come here.
Yeah, so there's no reason. There's no reason.
Now, if the Jacobs fight doesn't get made, what do you think that reason is going to be? It's been ordered now. It's been ordered by the WBA. If he doesn't fight the fight, he gets stripped.
Wow. So that is official now. If he turns the fight down, they strip him of the belt.
They strip him of the belt. Now, if they don't come to an agreement money-wise, it goes to a purse bid. The champion gets 75%. The challenger gets 25%. Now, do you think if $2 million get bid, which is crazy number, that means he would make what, $500,000? Gio that fought us made $650.
Yeah.
They have to come to an agreement somehow and understand that there's so much money in the pot, but he has been ordered.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see Danny Jacobs, after people seeing what Canelo Alvarez did by giving up the belt, I can't see Danny Jacobs going through that when he sees how the backlash that Canelo dealt with when he dropped his belt.
He's still dealing with it.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. And I was even saying to myself, Abe, I'm wondering if Canelo is even looking at Golovkin's performance and maybe he's thinking, maybe he has a newfound confidence, maybe. I mean, I don't know, though. You don't think so, huh?
Yeah, I think that this has become such a business, and guys are looking for it. I don't want to put any kind of blame on it. Know that he caused this, but Al paying the kind of money that he was paying, all these guys have these ideas of retiring on one fight. Instead of paying their dues, instead of doing what Floyd did. How many times did Floyd fight for nothing at the beginning? No, I mean, you have to pay your dues. You have to earn that kind of money with fights, not just because all of a sudden you got a belt and you got to hold it hostage.
It's a gamble. It's a gamble. I mean, you take what's offered, and then once you win that fight, then you can start demanding all types of money once you win the big fight, right?
Correct. If Rozier is correct that Jacobs would have slapped that Golovkin silly, I'd fight for a dollar just to get those belts.
Yeah, like you said, that's what Floyd did with Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar took like 80% of the pie, and Floyd Mayweather, he ended up winning the fight. Then he became the cash cow. So
the Pacquiao fight made him $500 or $340, $400 million. He wasn't that dummy, was he?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
You have to take the chance, man. You have to take the chance. These guys are not willing to take a chance. They like I said, they want to cash out. But this is the part that I don't understand. How much do you think he made for the Mora fight?
You know what? I need to look that up. I'm assuming I'm guessing probably around 500,000 to 800,000.
Okay, well, I would say 500,000. I would say 500,000. I have to look at I would want to know, but let's just say 500,000. In order to make what he's going to make with Golovkin, if they go to a negotiating table and they talk right, he's going to have to fight 3 fights of that sort to make that kind of money.
Yeah. Yep.
Same thing with Saunders. Saunders is not a draw. Saunders is not somebody that everybody's clamoring to go see. That's a good point. I mean, I guess just because people automatically think of him being a UK fighter, you automatically think he's bigger. But you're right. I mean, he's not as big as some of the fighters in the UK right now. Gail, because out of sight, out of mind. And if he's fighting consistently, he's doing good consistently, and people remember that. But he hasn't fought in 9 months or 10 months, and he's been absent from the U.S. In the U.S., even if the fights are in the U.K., the U.S. has influence on stardom. Kell Brook came here to fight Sean Porter, and because he came here to fight Sean Porter, he became a bigger worldwide star.
Yeah.
None of those guys come here to fight. Anthony Joshua just signed a contract with Showtime. Do you think he's not going to come over here and fight? Because this is a mecca, man. You have to make your bones here, and yeah, you can go back there and be a star, but you make your bones here. This is where you become a star. So Saunders being out of sight and out of mind is not really, like I said, somebody that everybody's clamoring to. If you go over there, it's going to sell out the arena again, but it's not going to sell out the arena because of Billy Joe Saunders.
Well, yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
But if Billy Joe Saunders fights some non-fifth opponent, it's not going to sell out the arena. So you cannot demand crazy monies when you're not the one bringing. And I'm not talking about an A fighter or a B fighter. To me, those things are overused. I'm talking about who puts asses in the seats. You can be the B fighter, but everybody wants to see you, and boom, you're putting asses in the seats. I mean, Salido against anybody. So people are going to come see him because it's a war. Vargas against anybody. People are going to see him because it's a war. Spence against anybody. People are going to see him because now he's becoming a guy that puts people to sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thurman, people are going to come and see Thurman like they're going to see Spence. Okay, so you have to sell.
Yeah, you have to sell. And like you said, $3 million. I don't know how much BJ Saunders he's been making, in his fights before, but $3 million, it seems like a hell of a raise. So.
Yeah, who did he fight? Who did he win the title from? Andy Lee, right?
Yeah.
It would be interesting to go back and find out how much he made for that fight. I'll tell you what, it won't be half of what he can make with Golovkins.
Yeah.
But, he's posturing, hoping that it gets to the point where maybe he can make that kind of money. He's been waiting, Golovkin wanting the WBO belt. I really don't know what the situation is. Our goal in the important part of our mission is to continue to have Golovkin in the ring, to have him fighting. Who it's against, it doesn't matter as long as he's fighting. Whoever steps up next and wants to fight in November is who we're going to fight. It's not the guy that people want to see. That's beyond our control.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, like I said, it seems like there's a lot of options for you guys now, at least.
You do know how the Brook fight was made, right? You heard all that story.
I remember you told me briefly about it.
What happened was Chris Eubank's father, or Chris Eubank and the attorneys, made it so difficult for Eddie Hearn that it got to the point where it was 3.5 weeks of negotiations, which was 12 weeks before the fight, moving into 8.5 weeks before the date that Golovkin was supposed to fight in, which was September the 10th. It got to the point where we have to make a fight or else we're going to lose the date. Golovkin is 34 years old. We can't afford not to fight 3 times this year for Golovkin. So anyway, they were trying to make this fight, and it was so miserable for Eddie Hearn. He said he aged 3 years and 3 weeks. Just how difficult it was. So on Monday of that week that the Brook fight got announced, on Monday they sent a letter to the attorneys giving them until Wednesday to say yes or no. Like they gave a deadline. So the deadline went. Tom's on the phone with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn says, you know what, I'm sorry, I don't have. So we were going to bring Golovkin back to the forum and fight on the Chocolatito card. They were going to be 1 and 2 again. So Eddie Hearn, in the conversation with Tom, says, well, let me call Cal. Would you fight Cal Brook? Yeah, we'd fight anybody at this point. So he calls Cal Brook. Cal Brook immediately said yes. Within 2 days, they had the contract, the same contract that they had for Eubanks, to Cal, and it was signed and announced in the morning on Friday. The same contract. All they did was take Eubanks' name out, put Cal Brook's name in, take the picture of Eubank off the poster, put Cal Brook's picture on the poster. The same deal. He accepted within hours.
Wow. Yeah, that's big. I mean, but do you think they regret that now, though, Abel? You think they regret that?
No. Do you give Cal one? Do you, as a journalist, give Cal credit for how much he withstood from a big guy like that?
Oh.
How big his heart was? How much effort he put into it? How good he looked in the fight as far as physically? And in the first couple of rounds, We give him a lot more credit now. We respect him now more here in the U.S. than we did in the past.
Oh, everyone does. I'm hearing people praise the hell out of Kell Brook now, you know, just for him taking the fight, but then the way he performed, he's getting praised a lot, you know.
Okay, so I don't think he regrets it. I don't think he regrets it because just like Canelo lost against Floyd, who did you lose against? Yeah, you lost.
You're talking about Kell Brook. You saying you don't think? No, I'm talking
about Kell. About Kell.
I was talking about Chris Eubank. Do you think they regret the fact that they didn't?
Oh, absolutely. But now we'll find out. We'll find out how much they regret it on how they. He's talking about he wants to fight Golovkin. How they handle the next negotiations for the next fight, because there's gonna be an offer. He's a big enough name over there where they can sell him well, and his father is a character, and people hate him, people love him. So he's charismatic enough and trouble enough that people are gonna want that fight. How do they handle the next negotiations to fight, whether it's Golovkin or somebody else, whomever it is that they're gonna go after? That's a big name. Right now, Golovkin is a big name in that division, so they're gonna probably go after him. But if he goes out of there, how can I handle negotiations against, let's just say, a Canelo or somebody who's in the division that's a big name? No. They have to be receptive enough. They have to be understanding enough on what's available and the deal what's on the table. They can't dictate to a promoter or to you how much money you're going to have to pay him.
Yeah.
This is what's available. Take it or leave it.
Well, yeah. I mean, to me, this seems like a huge learning lesson to me. I mean, the fact that they missed out on this. They see that big crowd there, but like one of the biggest fights in the UK in years, and they could have been a part of that. So to me, that's more incentive for them to take the offer this time.
And then to think, shit, I could have had that same Golovkin that Brook had. Maybe I would have beat him.
Yeah, that's why I don't believe it's going to be too hard for you guys to get at least BJ, Chris Eubank, or Danny Jacobs.
Okay. Well, we start falling out. You call me again, okay? So we can talk about it.
We definitely will talk about that, man. That'll be crazy if they don't take this fight, man. So, like you said, they're all going to get.
I hope that they don't fall out.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And one last thing, I know you probably got to go, man, but Konstantin Ponomarev. Now Kell Brook is not going back down to welterweight. He said he's going to go back to 154. So does Ponomarev fight Errol Spence now for that IBF belt?
Absolutely. That's what these kids work for. That's what these kids, even though I'm as high as I am on Spence, you know what? That's what these kids work for. Their careers get to a certain point where you have to make a move, and that's the move that's ordered next. I'm not gonna do a Chris Eubank, and I'm not gonna do Danny Jacobs if he backs out again, and I'm not gonna do a Saunders. We're gonna take the fight. If that's the fight that's ordered by the IBF, and that's the fight we're gonna take. If it's for the title, absolutely. If it was for a number 1 spot or number 2 spot, forget that. I would not take that fight because I don't believe in pitting two stars against each other like that for a chance to fight for the title. If it's for the title, absolutely.
Yeah, I got you. And what about Marat Gassiev? How come that title shot hasn't been arranged yet?
I believe right now, Rabinsky, who is I think won the first bid or won the right to do the first bid or do the fight. They're trying to find a spot for it. I believe it'll be under Golovkins Stavern. I think that's the fight they're talking about. For the mandatory for that belt. So if it's under that main event, then wherever they put that, and we haven't got a date yet. They haven't talked about a date, so hopefully it'll be in December sometime. But it's definitely that's going to happen against Lebanon for the both belt, IBF and WBA.
Okay, man. Well, I look forward to it, man. And thanks for your time as always. Anything else you got on your mind, man?
Yeah, I got Shafakov fighting for the mandatory. Hopefully within the next couple months, also the mandatory for another title shot. The kid that beat who did he beat?
Jamel Herring.
Jamel Herring,
yeah. Hey, that was a great performance, man. That was a great performance. Congratulations on that, man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, he looked.
I was heartbroken. I'm gonna tell you why I was heartbroken. Because I'm a patriot, man. I believe in America. I believe in the U.S. I believe in all those young men that are overseas giving us the right to talk like we're talking right now. And for us to fight on the 4th of July especially, a young man that served for us two tours over in that area that is very difficult for everybody. And to fight him and to beat him was very, it was a bittersweet feeling for me because yes, I enjoyed that we won, but I didn't want to win that way, not against him.
Yeah, it is what it is. But you know, that's cool, man. And one more thing, with Kell Brook, was there anything that surprised you about Kell Brook?
No, I mean, I told everybody that would listen when they were interviewing me, and I told the HBO guys when we had our meeting that I thought that his advantages was they did the welterweight. His advantages were his hand speed and his foot speed. His advantages were that he's going to win a couple rounds early, but Golovkin's going to catch up to him. I compared it to when I talked about Khan and Canelo. I thought that Khan would win the early fight. He just had to keep his wits about him and listen to Virgil. If he didn't keep his wits about him, he was going to get knocked out. Sure enough, he got knocked out. Why? Because he got brave instead of listening to his corner. The same thing with Brook. I thought that he would win a couple rounds at the beginning, but eventually keep touching him. We're going to get to him 4 or 5 rounds. I predicted 5 rounds to them, and that's exactly what it was. I just felt that Golovkin, you're a middleweight, and you have a naturally faster guy coming up from welterweight. He's going to give you problems early. But I know that if Golovkin just stayed on him, it's a 12-round fight. And that's, if you listen to me in the corner, that's what I keep telling Golovkin, not to go so crazy, just it's a 12-round fight. Work him, and we'll get him later.
You don't feel Golovkin lost his composure at all because he kind of...
He did.
Yeah.
He did. And when he heard it in the first round, I think that he wanted to go out and kill him. You know, and that's unfortunate. Because he looked a little sloppy at times, but he was trying. Again, he really wants to please the crowd. He really wants to put on a show. He really wants to. He put on a drama show, whether he gets hit or doesn't get hit. With the Willie Monroe and some of those fights where he puts his head out for them to hit him, he just wants to fight at him. He just wants to. He's a warrior. You know, he wants to fight.
No doubt about it, man. Well, hey, man. Well, I'll be talking to you when you guys get close to an announcement for the next one, man. All right.
Well, if they fall out, you better call me. You better tell me why.
I definitely will, man. And I'm gonna try to put some pressure on them too, man, to take the fight, man. So.
Okay. Well, Danny, I think would be a great fight for us because of the story. Okay. The cancer survivor, all this shit that he's gone through. I think that a great promotion, a great sell. Hopefully that gets made for both of us, and we have the great fight that I anticipate. So.
Yeah, that would be a big one. I think that's the biggest one right now in Madison Square Garden or somewhere, Barclays Center, whatever. That would be huge, man. So.
Okay, now what do you think of that fight? In your honest opinion, what do you think about that?
Well, you know what? I'm being real with you, of course, Abel. I believe Danny Jacobs has the same type of athleticism as a Kell Brook, you know, but the difference is he's a natural middleweight. He has power. Well, only thing I question with Danny Jacobs is can he take Golovkin's punch, because Danny Jacobs been knocked out before. So I don't know. I don't know if he could take, you know, that kind of power. That's the question.
Okay, that's a good analogy. I'm gonna tell you this. I've been hearing a lot about how Golovkin got hit with a couple shots if he only had better defense. That's like saying if Floyd only had a better punch.
You said that's like saying if he only has a better punch. What's that?
Yeah, if Floyd could only punch like Valero did. You know, these guys have attributes to themselves. No, Golovkin is not Floyd defensively. Floyd is not Golovkin with the punching power. Danny Jacobs is a big puncher, but maybe he doesn't have the chin.
Yeah.
If he fights somebody else, if Brook fights somebody else other than Golovkin, his attributes will be too much for that particular person. Everybody has a stuff in their mind. So when we start comparing fighters, we have to take everything into consideration, not just the fact that he's got punching power or he's athletic and all that. There's going to come a point where he's going to get touched, and if he doesn't have a chin, he's going to go down. Now, he may have the greatest chin in the world, but can't crack an egg.
Yeah.
When somebody with the punching ability of Golovkin starts to wear him down, he's going to knock him out. So Golovkin is not 100% perfect. Golovkin has got his deficiencies, but his deficiencies are enough to take away the fact that if he touches you, you're going to sleep.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to how comfortable both Danny Jacobs and Golovkin are when it comes to getting touched, because Golovkin hasn't really been getting touched too often, outside of the Kell Brook fight, you know what I mean? So we've seen how other fighters have dealt with getting hit with hard shots.
But the reason I asked you about that fight is because he told me Danny Jacobs has great punching power. When Danny Jacobs touches Golovkin and Golovkin doesn't go nowhere, is that because Jacobs can't punch or because Golovkin doesn't care that he gets punched?
Oh, well, if he doesn't go anywhere, it's because he has a great chin. Because if he gets hit flush by Danny Jacobs and he walks through it, he has a good chin. But the same thing applies for Danny Jacobs. If he takes his punch, the same thing applies. So.
Right, so those are the attributes I'm talking about. Those are the pluses and minuses that every fighter has. And when they win or lose the fight, it's not because they had a bad chin. It's because or bad defense. It's because the other guy used his attributes to better whatever attributes Golovkin has. When Brook touched him and couldn't do nothing with him, and Golovkin was able to wear him down, it's just because Golovkin may have been bigger, may have been stronger, may have been a bigger puncher that wears you down more. So all those. So the reason I'm saying this to you is because we're talking about when Golovkin got hit. That's the first thing you said when we got in this conversation. Was he got touched more than most other people that touched it. That's true. He's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to touch it, you're gonna have to be available to touch it. You're gonna have to be there to touch it.
That's true. And since you made that Floyd Mayweather comparison when it comes to lack of power, I think the difference is Floyd Mayweather, he moved up 5 weight classes, so he's not going to be as strong as he was when he was in the smaller weight classes. Because I feel...
I didn't say lack of power. No, I didn't say lack of power. I'm talking about the George... Let's just say, imagine if Floyd Mayweather had George Foreman's punch. Okay? So Floyd doesn't have the not punch like George Foreman, and let's just say Valero, or let's just say Golovkin, let's just say Arguello, let's just say some of those big punchers. He hits hard, but doesn't have that snap big punch where he can knock you out with one shot. Maidana's punch, let's just say. Or Matisse's punch, even though Matisse doesn't have the qualities that Floyd does.
Yeah.
Maidana doesn't have the qualities that Floyd does. So we can't make a perfect fighter to have all the qualities that we want in a fighter. Some are going to have defense, some of them are going to have punching power, some of them are going to have footwork. So when you talk about the defensive deficiencies, let's just say, because Golovkin got here a little bit more than he did in other fights, maybe he's not as good as Floyd defensively, but he's a better puncher. He's going to wear you out better than Floyd does. He's going to wear you out.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It just the conversation started with, he got hit more than he did in other fights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We fight a world champion too.
I think the question for many right now is, if Kell Brook was able to find the target so easily against Gennady Golovkin, with him being so naturally athletic, how is Golovkin going to deal with a middleweight who has athleticism and he has middleweight power? I think that's the biggest question right now. Do you think with a guy that had 350 amateurs that fought everybody and beat some of the best middleweights in the world today, do you think that if that middleweight was in front of Golovkin would have been as careless with him like he was with Brook? Well, I mean, me personally, Abel, I think it depends on how athletic the fighter is. I just, like you just said, if it's somebody who's quick, athletic, I mean, it's not as easy to avoid those type of shots as a person who's more predictable. You think Stevens was athletic? Curtis Stevens? He's not really an elusive type of a fighter, but he was strong, you know what I mean? And yeah, I guess he did have some athleticism. He just was a fighter who comes forward, though, you know. But did he hit Golovkin? Wasn't he called the chin checker? Was knocking everybody out? Did he hit Golovkin with his best shot and Golovkin just flipped at him? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he caught him. He caught him with a good hook. I think he caught him with, what, 1 or 2? I mean, more than that. He caught him with some good shots. Curtis put up a hell
fight until he just wore down. And Danny was put down by Mora, so Danny's not gonna, he may be athletic and mobile, but he's not gonna stay there to do the things he needs to do when he feels what Curtis felt.
Well, and that's why I told you when I gave you my assessment, that's one of the things I brought up is he's athletic, but we don't know. That's what everyone is trying to figure out. How will he take a punch because he's been knocked out before, you know? So that's the biggest question mark.
Yeah, it's what they're saying. Styles make fights, and we'll find out when they get in the ring together. We'll see how he reacts when he gets hit with the first shot. We'll see how aggressive he becomes once he gets hit with a first solid shot.
Yeah, yes, that we will see. That we will see, and you know. So.
Diana, hold on. Let me call you back. Well, let's talk later.
Okay, all right. I'll talk to you later, man. All right, good stuff, man. Thank you, bye.
This is Bobby, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.